Hello, everybody. I don't know if you know who you are, but I am the Pod Brother, and this is Pod Brother Nation. Welcome to my podcast. And as you know, this is something that I love to do, and I am in the heart of Hollywood at a legendary restaurant. It's been here since 1947, and there's been major stars that have gone through this restaurant, enjoyed the food, and it's also a singing waiter, singing waitress restaurant. So there has been hundreds and hundreds of talent that has gone through this restaurant, singing to the folks. And the coolest thing about this place is it's been in serious movies and TV shows. But the coolest thing that has ever been at Michelli's is the Pod Brother and Pod Brother Nation, because that's how we get down.
That's right.
And I want to thank Joe and Frank Michelli for letting me come down and do my thing here. Appreciate you guys. The food is awesome. The staff is amazing. Drinks are great. And I'm just excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity and that love. But today, we're going to chop it up comedy style. I got one of my old school comedy buddies from way back in the day. We worked together at the John Lovitz Podcast Theater at Universal City Walk, which, by the way, is right across Cahuenga from this restaurant. You can see Universal City Walk from right outside this building, and that's where comedian Guy Groves and I met. Guy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah, you're looking good, man.
What's going on, man? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for wearing the tie
Hey,
for my
man.
show.
Hey, just for this. yeah.
I knew he was coming. I'm like, this brother probably gonna wear a tie. Let me throw a tie on, so
Yeah.
you know, so we can get corporate black
Yeah.
post
Do it.
19th,
That's right.
Juneteenth.
Get them bonuses.
Get them bonuses, absolutely. So yeah, it's like, it's funny how things happen. I saw you at the Comedy Chateau over the last week. They had the comedy festival, the International Comedy Festival, and I thought you looked familiar, man.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know how it is, man. We see people in the audience, we get different people.
Right.
We're the type that's always gonna run into thousands of faces,
Right.
and we can't run up to everybody and be like, how do I know you? Because chances are, I mean, come on, decades of shows, thousands of people.
That's right.
You can't do that to everybody. So then you came to me, it's like, hey, weren't you at I was like, I thought I knew you.
Right. Yeah. Love it. Man.
Yeah, love it.
That was an experience.
That was an amazing experience, and I really love that chapter of my comedy life. That's actually where the Pod Brother was born. John Lovitz is the Pod Father. I got coined as the Pod Brother at that club, and I've been the Pod Brother ever since. So that influence has stuck with me for the lifelong.
Yeah, that was a special experience, I think, for a lot of people, man. Beautiful theater-like club, you know what I mean? Massive stage. Like when I talked to you, I was saying, I know you built, a lot of the technical stuff in that club, man. So,
yeah, I was the 3D coordinator for there. So I put several 3D projectors in there. I put the 3D screen in there. I had some 3D TVs. I basically turned the John Lovitz Podcast Theater into a 3D house.
Yeah. I remember that definitely.
Yeah, so tell me about, like, what were some of the shows that you were doing there? Because I remember there's so many things that was going in and out of that club because it was so amazing. It used to be BB King's, right?
That's correct. It used to be BB King's, and then John took over. When I first started going there, I had a manager with a production group called Revelry Entertainment. I think Revelry,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And they came in, signed a management deal with them. And when that whole ship sort of fell apart, believe it or not, man, the first show that I did after Revelry was gone was with Big Mike Mitchell. I don't know if you remember.
I remember Big Mike, yeah. I did a couple of his shows, yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah, rest in peace.
We
Yeah.
lost him a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But the funny story about that is how I ended up on stage. I actually came there. I was invited by one of the managers to meet him. They were like, well, he got a couple shows on Friday, sometimes on Saturday. You should meet him. And when I came to meet him, I didn't have any plans of performing at all. I just was going to have a couple of drinks, sit there, see what his show was about, and just see what he was about. And man, literally 4 or 5 spots into the show, he walks up to me in the audience and says, can you do 5 right now? So I'm like, man, I done had like 3 beers. You know what I mean? I know I'm off my square. Like, I know I'm not my usual self, right?
Right.
So I was like, well, you know what? I mean, this dude is being generous enough to offer me some time. I might as well see what it's all about. So I jumped on, did 5 minutes, had one of the best sets I had in a long time, and the rest is history.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce. Yeah, Big Mike was cool, man. He like when he first saw him, he's like, "Oh, I heard about you. You was the dude that rocked the thing on the Queen Mary. Yeah, I want you to be on my shows." So I was on quite a few of his shows, and they're quite. Big Mike was an interesting dude, man. That dude was interesting.
I mean, he was the ultimate hustler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think most people, being where they're from, understand that type of mentality.
Right.
But, you know, I'm originally from Chicago, South Side, and then when I moved out here, I was living on the South Side, Manchester, Mass.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I went to Catholic school and I could clean it up, you know what I mean? I recognized the hustle.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I recognized that. You know, I think half of the people that was friends with my uncle, none of them actually had a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? So I understood Mike and where he was coming from and wasn't offended by his mentality. And the interesting thing is, me doing comedy at that time, it wasn't really about the money. You know what I mean? I just really wanted a spot to, you know, work on my stuff. So I think that's the reason we got along. You know, he can get the talent, and I'm not going to charge him up. You know what I mean? When that's his only hustle. You know, when I actually have, you know, a job with insurance and everything else like that. So I think we got along because money wasn't a factor for me.
Right.
And that to him, that was his thing. He had the hustle in order just to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he was misunderstood by a lot of people. You know, my daughter and his daughter went to the same school for a while, and I got to see him in a different light. You know, a lot of other people hated it. How do you get along with him? And I was like, I don't think y'all really understand.
You don't understand.
I don't think y'all would understand. Like, even though I present myself different and maybe had different opportunities, we came from the same place.
Right.
So I understood it, and I got my own way.
Yeah, I was born in Chicago. I started my comedy career in Chicago.
All right, Chi-Town.
Yeah, Chi-Town in the house. I started at the Comedy Cottage with Jay Burke at the Rosemont Horizon, and then I did a couple of zany spots. I did Who's On First, Albert Elms First. But I immediately got into the cruise ship thing and the college thing right from, because I worked really, really, really hard to write a lot of jokes really fast to try to get that hour, because people were calling me about doing these gigs.
Right.
And I was like, well, I don't know if I have the time. They're like, well, you need to find the time because they want you.
Right.
So, you know, it forced me to, you know, write vigorously and get on them stages and just flush it all out. And I was basically booking banquet rooms for my own show just to try to do an hour of the new stuff that I wrote. Because as you know, at the comedy clubs, you're only getting, you know, at that time, you're getting maybe 7 to 10 minutes, which is a lot.
Right.
But I needed to be on stage for an hour in order to get an hour.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of it was, you know, whack and fluff and filler, but you have to do that in order to hone in to get the good stuff. And I was able to do that. So how long did you work in Chicago before you came out west, or did you have any other stops in America on your way out?
You know, the interesting thing is I actually started here. My grandparents, I graduated high school from Unitarian Center High School in Gardena, California. We're talking like 1987. Right? And my grandparents bought a house in Rialto, and they basically said, well, you gotta move with us, you know, come out here. And so the way I started comedy, I was watching a 2020 special about the Comedy Store. And I mean, it was intriguing because it showed me everything. It showed me who Mitzi Shore was, it showed what goes on behind the scenes, etc. And I actually went down there and started doing open mic. And on the line TV, I was catching a bus from Rialto. So, you know, I'm talking like 3 or 4 buses. I mean, one night I got stranded. You know what I mean? I missed that last bus, bro, and I was walking around Hollywood all night, right? So when I got home, I remember my grandma was like waiting for me, looking at me like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, "Well, because of comedy, I probably kind of am." Right. You know, it's a crazy thing to do. So I was out here, 18, trying to do comedy, and I ran into James Wallace, right? And I asked him, "What do I do? How do I get better?" And that's when he said, "Where you from?" And I said, "Well, I'm originally from Chicago." And he said, "Go there." because you're messing around in Hollywood and you're just a kid, but you don't really understand how to put your act together. Go somewhere else, he said. Go to another market. Chicago is a big comedy market. Go there, work on your stuff, then come back here. So I went home to Chicago. I worked for like a year. I worked with Cheryl Underwood, Andre LaVille, Bernie Mac, like all those people.
Right.
You know, that work at local circuits. Like you said, Zanies, Funny Firm, the Cotton Club, you know, all those places. And I worked for about a year, and I built like a little 5-minute act. And that's how I was ready to come back. So I came back to LA, man, and I've been here ever since. You know, it's like
Right.
I came back, I became a regular at the Comedy Store by the time I was 20, you know, because what I had put together in Chicago was a legitimate act.
Right.
So when I showed up, I remember when I got jumped into the Comedy Store, I talked to Jackson Purdue, who I told you about, who's one of my mentors. Shout out Jackson Purdue, if you ever hear this, right? And he kind of told me what I needed to do. And I got in front of Mitzi. And, you know, I think my showcase was 3 minutes. And she told me, she was like, you know what? You have the talent, you have the ability. Now you come here, you work on your craft, you know. But that only lasted like a year and a half.
Right.
I didn't know how to follow the rules, man. I did not know how to follow the rules.
Gotta follow the rules.
I was riding the light. I was everything that you're not supposed to do in comedy, I was doing. Because at the time, I'm looking at Eddie Griffin.
Right.
Eddie Griffin's like a year older than me. And he was the most confident person that I've ever met in my life. You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen it. Like, this dude would wear the craziest stuff. Like, come in with a big zebra hat on and some white boots and just kill it. So I wanted to be like him. You know, like, to me, he was my peer. You know, but he was better than me at the time. And so I would see him breaking rules and not breaking rules. And it didn't really work out for me, but I did end up on Comic View. I ended up on Evening at the Improv. You know, all of that by the time I was 22. So, you know, the beginning was kind of what started it. And then, like I said, I stayed for the duration. I didn't see any reason to go anywhere else. It's all here.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great story. And, you know, it's funny that was the advice that you get to go back and work, you know, a market or your home market before you go to both New York or LA.
Yeah,
because, you know, New York is warp speed and you got to hit the ground running and you only get a split fraction of a second to make an impression.
Right.
And if it's not the right one, then you're like cast forever because they don't look back.
Yeah.
You know, you get one shot. If you up to speed, then let's go. If not, they never look in the rearview mirror. And you know, my story is kind of similar to yours. Like I started in Chicago and I worked all those Midwest clubs and one-nighters, and I got doing colleges and concerts and all that stuff. I used to work for Jam Productions, which was a concert promoter company before they were bought out by SFX. Who's now Live Nation.
Right.
It was cool, man, to work those large shows and open for B.B. King and Kenny G and Anita Baker and Luther Vandross and you know, Hiroshima. That was really good training for me because you got to work those big audiences on a big stage, and you got to know what it felt like to be like a national like star headliner versus like a comedy club headliner.
Yeah.
And it really motivated me to be like, this is cool. This is cool. I really want to get better. I want to, you know, be that type of comic who can do these type of shows and maybe one day, you know, be one of those type of headliners. And when my manager at the time was really pushing me to go to Boston because Boston in the late 80s to the mid 90s was a comedy bubble in America, and it was super, super hot. And one of the reasons why is because there's like over 1,000 colleges in the 95 radius, you know, in the East Coast, because Boston, New Hampshire, Maine, it's an academic region of America, so it's academia. There's a lot of colleges and universities and if you can go there and get into that college circuit, you can make a lot of money and you can develop your professional act really quickly because, you're not doing fart jokes, you're not doing dick jokes, you're not doing all that Midwestern Southern kind of Def Jam stuff doesn't fly in academia.
Of course not.
And you got a chance to like actually work some into it. And that was one of the best things I ever did. I gave a lot of pushback because of the racism at the time in Boston. But she talked me into it, and I packed up all my stuff and I went out there and I hit the ground running. I was smart enough to sit in the back of the club and listen and watch to see what the culture was about, to see what the clubs were about, the comedians. I didn't want to make that mistake that most comics do. Is like, oh, I headline in Chicago, so I'm the shit.
Yeah.
So let me just go in and just tell you what I can do and have everybody hate you because you're gonna start off with a fart joke and they're gonna be like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's how you'll be stamped for the rest of your life there forever. So I just was a fly on the wall and I was listening to the type of material, the type of jokes, and that was probably one of the smartest things I've ever done in my comedy career, moving to a new market, is just go in and watch and observe. And one day, one of the major headliners at Knicks came up to me. He's like, "I've been noticing you, and you're not a comic, you're not a patron. Like, who are you?" I'm like, "Well, Steve Akimbo." He's like, "Are you funny?" I go, "Yeah, I'm funny." "You want to do some time?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to do some time." And I went on stage and I killed. And it was like from that point, everybody wanted to be up on the shows, the bookers, the comedy artists, the other headliners. They were like, "Hey, can you cover this show for me? Because I got a TV gig." And these were headliner shows with great money.
Yeah.
And they're asking me to cover for it. And that was probably one of the coolest chapters of my comedy career that I've ever had, because it was a validation of being a solid closer. But it like your advice that you got from your mentor, just work your talent first in a market that you can make mistakes without them hurting you.
Right.
And then go and put your name in a hat in a bigger city.
Yeah, I tell people that about this city too, man. Like, everybody wants to work at the Laugh Factory, right? Everybody wants to at the Improv. Everybody wants to at the Comedy Store. I tell them, look, man, do some of these bar shows and meet people and get on. Obviously, open mic is not like a thrill for anybody, right? Performing for yourself, but even that is a way for you to get on the mic and at least hear, what it is that you've been thinking and see if it sounds right and practice with the mic. But I always tell people, don't believe that you got to start at the top club with one of the best clubs in the world.
Right.
Try to work your way in like everybody else, but just don't stop pushing to get to that level. But they just need to know, when you show up to the Laugh Factory, when you get on stage, if you ain't ready, like you said, you're never coming back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You ain't never coming back. Yeah. So you need to at least have, 15 excellent minutes of material to even go into any of those clubs and try to get on stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, when people, everybody, a lot of comedy is like ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just reality. Because I think for you to be a comedian, you kind of need that to a certain extent just to survive. Because, you know how they say, like, to be successful, you have to fail.
Yeah.
When you're a comedian, you're going to fail a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's a fail-forward game.
Right?
It's a fail-forward game.
So if you're not built for failing all the time,
yeah,
you never gonna do any new jokes. Once you get your 15, that's gonna be it, right?
It.
So I always tell people, like, everybody that approach me about comedy, I want to work at the Laugh Factory, I want my name on the marquee. It's like, are you a marquee performer? Because it's not gonna happen just because you get hired.
Right.
Like, you really got to be a killer and be going around town and be known as that. It is reputation.
Sure.
Whether you friends with anybody or not, you can be a loner all you want, as long as you know that's that killer.
Right.
That's going to go up and work his material and work his audience. And, the club's going to get the money's worth out of your performance. And cool. But some of these people, they want to move so fast.
Right.
They want to be headlining at the Improv after a year. And I'm like, you're just not really being realistic about what this is out here.
Well, you have a new kind of caveat. You have these social media influencer successes where a video can go viral in a day.
True.
And because of that, they now think, oh, I can headline the Comedy Store. And they have no material.
Right.
But they think because they have 2 million views on Instagram because they did some funny 20-second thing. Now they're trying to leverage that in a comedy profession, and stand-up is the first obvious place to look.
Yeah.
And they think they could just walk in and do the silly thing they did on YouTube and expect to hold an audience for even 2 minutes. And so it's that instant gratification that they get on those YouTube channels and those TikToks that make them think that they can have that instant success in stand-up, and it's a reality show. And by design, if you think about it, if you're trying to get a laugh every 20 seconds, that's 3 laughs a minute for 6 minutes, and you only get 3 or 4 minutes to try any of your material, how long is it going to take you to get it out? Right there, if you do the math, you're going to understand that's a long day.
You're going to grind. I mean, people don't look at like, okay, I remember looking at Chris Rock's process. He's dropping a special every couple of years. Yeah. So that means he spent 2 years working on this, getting this ready.
Yeah.
You know, performing in New York, like you said, 4 or 5 times a night. You know, just trying to get this ready for everybody. You know, so it's no shortcut really to being a great stand-up comedian. You got to put the work in.
And it's great that it's no shortcut because it's like that for everybody. Like nobody gets to jump the line when it comes to the process.
Yeah. I saw Louis C.K. one night in the Hollywood Improv. It was the funniest thing. Like, you know, you always wonder. Like, I saw Seinfeld's documentary, Comedian.
Mm-hmm.
You always wonder, okay, so is it that way for everybody? And I saw Louis C.K. in a notebook, right? And I was like, you got a joke book? You know what I mean? Like everybody else, he went on stage and he sat the joke book on the stool, and he literally put the mic stand in front of him and was looking at the joke book and like turning the page. And when something didn't work, you could see it in his face. He'd be like, that ain't right? And he flipped the page. And I sat right there saying, okay, this is one of the best comics in the world.
Right.
And this fool had a joke book like everybody else. You know what I mean? So in a weird way, it's like a very, very level playing field.
Yeah.
It's a very level playing field. Even the greats still got to go back to their discipline.
Sure.
In order to get ready for whatever's next.
And see, I have my joke book as well. But what I did, like what I teach is try to remember as much as you can. If nothing else, get a tag word that will remind you of the rest of the bit. And just remember at least that word. Because I had somebody come up to me and they say, and I hadn't done this, and I never was bring a book on stage type of comedy. That's not. I figure if you're paying money for a performance, I should at least perform it and have a conversation with you, even if I'm struggling with my own material.
Right.
And it's okay for you to see me struggle trying to remember my own stuff as part of a comedic performance for you, because that shows my realness, my vulnerability, my connection, my humanitarian connection to you. That I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to be good.
Yeah.
And so I had this person come up to me and they said, man, it's like one of the things I love about your act is we can clearly see that you are writing jokes and you're doing material, but we love how you pull the audience in and your crowd work is great. But the thing that I love about you the most is you're not reading anything from a book. So your improv is straight from your head and your jokes are straight out of your mind. And we're just having a conversation, and I love that experience. I hate comics that come up and pull out a book and just start reading and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got a good conversation. I mean, I learned that more from this one cat, the R.I.P. David Arnold. I don't know if you know David Arnold. David Arnold was like the king of making things conversational. Mm-hmm. He basically was like, look, if you can't make it conversational, either you're going to have to be gimmicky or hokey or smashing watermelons or something. Right. No disrespect to anybody that does any of that. But he's like, you're going to have to come up with a different way of doing this. If you can't have a conversation with people so that they know that, even though you exaggerate here or there, or you may use a word that they think doesn't necessarily apply to make something funny, at the end of the day, what you're saying is real.
Right.
And the truth is, I do believe at this point, man, every audience is smart. You know what I mean? They already know what you go say half the time.
Mhm.
They just want you to say it and say it in a way where they in their mind would say this is what I would say,
Right.
and they agree with you, right? Without being conversational, it's impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible craft.
Right. So, what's your take on like where comedy is going from like this moment forward? Like, we've had decades of comedy bubbles come and go, and mainstream and crossover and Def Jam and LGBTQ and cancel culture and this and that. When you flush it all out to where we are right now, where do you think comedy sits? Do you think it's in a good spot? It's plateaued. It's on the way up, on the way down. Is it the sweet spot? Is it a new surgence of stand-up comedy? What's your take?
I do think it's a new surgence, and I think it's in a good place because comics have to be smarter, right? Like a lot of people see me, I had a young lady, I was warming up in the open mic just recently, and she said, what you just did is so back in the day. And I told her, I said, you know what, actually I agree with you because my education in comedy was from some really, really legendary old comics from another era. So we're talking Mom's Lately, Red Fox, Flip Wilson, Cosby, dare I say it. All those people that made vinyl comedy records. My grandfather has a collection of vinyl comedy records. And I actually learned comedy without seeing it until The Tonight Show.
Right.
And I wasn't even allowed to watch that show until I was like 10 or 11 years old. So I only knew it from what I heard, right? These kids now that are coming up in comedy, they're able to see anything in the world at a moment's glance on their phone, right? So their education is totally more broad than ours. So I think a lot of the comics that you believe are doing really well today, believe it or not, are intellectuals, whether they accept that or not. You know what I mean? They're much smarter in the way they develop their material because they can't just come out and say something crass or say whatever they want to say. There are inherent risks to what you say on the mic now, right? So they have to think around all of this to build an act that's going to be purposeful, right? And it's going to take some chances, but where they're not going to ruin their possibility of being successful. So I think, with, Chappelle doing what he's doing, etc., and I know he does, get some pushback from some of what he does, but he has to think about a lot of what he's doing now in order to be successful. And I think that's pushing this whole generation of comics, man, that think outside the box. Like, the stuff that I do, I know for a fact, man, some of the young comics look at me like I'm already. Here I come with the grandmother voice and, the Mickey Mouse voice and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, who is this dude? Did they transport this dude from the 80s? You know what I mean? But that's how I was developed. I was developed that way. The way they're developing now, man, I really do think, you got cats out there like Ralph Barbosa, you know what I mean? Guys who were like come across as the underdog, but if you listen to his material, I mean, this dude is writing jokes every day. He has to be. Vince Royale, like I said, dudes who like really think about what it is they're going to say and how it's going to affect the audience. So I think they're in a good spot. I just think that they need to capitalize on it. And it does seem like some of these young comics are afraid of being commercialized, right? But I mean, everybody that's a legend was commercialized at some point.
Oh yeah, sure.
Everybody. I mean, George Carlin probably is the comic that mirrors this era, and how he thought about everything that he was going to say, right? Yeah. So they're all kind of disciples of that right now, right? And he was commercialized. People don't think so, but he absolutely was. Yeah. If you look at his career, you would think somebody like him, that he would detest that, he would hate it because he spoke it true and real, right? I mean, you're going to get commercialized regardless, so just keep writing the jokes and keep doing the thing.
Well, you kind of have to understand that that's a good evolutionary process because you are creating a commodity to be sold.
Right.
So, I really hate people like, oh, you're a sellout. You're just like, well, no, I'm making a commodity to sell. So when I sell it, I'm not selling out. I'm selling my product, my brand, my commodity. That's how this works. That's the showbiz side of it. But because people, the lines are blurred between art imitating life and life imitating art.
Indeed.
They can't tell which is which. So when you doing your act, they're like, that's you.
Right.
And whatever you're saying, they're taking to heart for the triple down.
Right.
And then when you are your real self, they're like, oh, you tripping.
Yeah.
Because this is where this is how I see you. This is, it's like you're selling out or you're fronting or you whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you got to twist it. You have to understand that this is the art that has imitated this part of my life. And now you taking my art and imitating that to be your life.
Right.
So it's like, don't get it twisted. You got to have, you have to be evolved enough to know how to shift out what is what, where the reality is in this stuff. And always remember, these are jokes. Like, we make this up.
Yeah.
Although it does come from a credible place and a credible experience and from deep from our heart, mind, and soul, but we're still taking these credible moments and exaggerating it to the ridiculous.
Yeah.
That the ridiculous part of the art is not humanly possible to repeat.
Exactly.
Because we've made it so ridiculous that it's literally impossible to imitate what we just laid out. And a lot of people have, they can't, their lines are blurred.
Yeah, I think free speech is people are getting confused. Like, people don't understand. If it's your experience and you're talking about it, it doesn't mean you have a problem with everybody in a certain category or whatever. But that's what people do. I wrote this joke I've been working on recently about a great aunt and uncle of mine, right? Who both ended up going blind from diabetes, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to test this joke out. And so I went into a club, actually in a comedy center, believe it or not, and I dropped the joke. And you could see, like, some people are laughing, but some people, they're confused. They don't realize that I'm talking about the experience of growing up with my great aunt and my uncle. Now they're like, oh, you're talking about people who are blind. And I'm like, I'm not talking about all the blind people or blind nation. I'm talking about my aunt and my uncle who went blind from diabetes. You see what I mean?
Right.
And how that affected them and how it affected my relationship with them. So, sometimes you might have the most hilarious thing and you want to talk about it. And then you kind of realize, like, man, I don't know, I'm doing this, but is it worth it for me? That's where it is now. Now you really got to find out, is it really worth it? So to be honest, I'm still doing the joke. I didn't stop doing the joke.
Sure.
I just felt maybe I need to clarify it a little more.
Well, it's almost like this day and age, jokes have to come with disclaimers.
Yeah.
And, and so the disclaimer explains this is a joke. This actually happened. Like, it's okay to laugh at, but you didn't have to do that before. You could just be like, tell the joke. And, but either way, we have to hack through the weeds to figure out the best way to lay it down anyway. So it's all a fail forward, and how we get the funny on something that's a sensitive issue or topic is one of those fail forward processes as well.
I'll tell you the most sensitive I've seen. I saw a comedian, a famous comedian, world famous, do a bit that you could tell. I mean, it's one of the funniest bits ever, but you could tell, oh man, I don't know. He did a whole bit about Magic Johnson's son, right? Whole bit, tore the house down. Everybody's laughing about Magic Johnson's son. You know what I mean? Which, for those who don't know, Magic Johnson's son is trans, right? And so, people laughed at that joke like it was nothing, thought it was hilarious. I mean, people were falling off tables. He did it for about 5 or 6 weeks, at one of the local comedy clubs. And 1 week he came in, and of course, now it's packed there. It's sold out because everybody wants to see him talk about Magic Johnson's son, right? And he gets the mic and he says, "Hey man, before I start this thing, I want to let you know I'm not going to do that joke anymore." Right? So of course everybody starts booing. He said, "Hold on. He said, just so you know, Magic Johnson is somebody I know." And he called me and he said, "Hey man, I heard what you're saying. I just want you to know that, this might be funny to you, but it's devastating to me and my family. So can you please stop doing it?" So he said he decided not to do it out of honor, because of the fact that he knew Magic for years. He wanted to be respectful to Magic. And I was just thinking to myself, like, that's where we're at.
Right.
You know, like people, you know, they don't want to feel violated by what you're doing. They want to be able to agree with you. Like I said earlier, they want to agree with you, they want to laugh, they want to enjoy it. They don't want to feel violated. So I think for Comic Now, how do you do that? How do you talk about something and have it be your experience and not be pointing the gun at somebody just because you can, because you have the money?
Right.
And that's where they're at. Like they really have to figure that out. You know, if you want to talk about certain things, you got to know what your angle is going to be. Because I think with everything, even comedy, a lot of people looking for your intention. You know, what's your intention? If you're just up there speaking racial slurs just for the hell of it, you know, your intention is obviously to offend everybody, right? But if you're up there talking about how the slur was developed, where it came from, what it means to people, why people, you know, shouldn't do it, and how, you know, somebody did it and it caused a problem, and you saw that problem be resolved. Then you get deep and you really working your craft. You know what I mean? You start talking about something and you show people, hey man, I really thought about this. You know, and I think I found what's really real and funny.
Yeah. No, that's very real talk right there. And we all have to deal with that every single bit, every single joke, every single time we go on stage, every single audience. We're constantly making those evaluations. You know, I teach a stand-up comedy workshop, and one of the things I tell my students is, you know, it doesn't hurt to have a 50-50 split on jokes that are self-deprecating, where you basically are kind of busting your own chops, and then jokes that might be on something else, or a place, or a thing, or a group, or a person. And if you can find that balance in your set, where you know you're not so arrogant or you're perfect and you're not picking on your own flaws, but at the same time you're not 100% shitting on yourself, that makes people you know, think you need some counseling.
Hey, some comics do need counseling, man. Some comics do need
because you know how you look at, okay, it's funny, but then you're looking at them because you know this material has to come from a credible place, and you know there's some thought that went into this topic or issue, and you, even though it's funny, you're like, you might want to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Comics are excellent at commiserating, man. So, you know, at the end of the day, we know that it's true, right? A lot of it comes from, you know, being self-deprecating, being depressed, you know, being angry, being frustrated, etc. But, you know, I think that the fine line that's been established now, man, you have to be really brilliant in order to pull off some topics or some, you know, some subjects. You know,
right.
you have to be really good. You really do. You can't just come out there and just throw it out there.
Yeah, that's true. Well, man, I could chop it up with you all the time, man. You know, let's do a round two. What do you think?
Absolutely, man. That's what's up.
Yeah. So where can we find you on the socials?
I am on everything as Guy Groves Comedy. Just a plug. I have a show this Friday at the Comedy Chateau at 7:30. I'm gonna tell you guys what the name of the show is. I think it's really funny. I'm gonna tell you, it's the Ignorant Know-It-Alls Comedy Show, right? It's produced by Sadiqa Scarlett, my homegirl, and Wavy McGuire, 7:30. You can go on www.thecomedychateau.com and get tickets for that. That's Friday at 7:30. That show is gonna be a blast. I mean, it's probably gonna be hood, to be honest with you. But you know, hey man, I can switch code, man.
Absolutely.
I can switch code.
Yeah.
You got the business side, you got the on the corner side.
Yeah,
so, we all have a good time at that.
I can do that too. I love having the ability to flip that coin. You know, corporate to like keeping it real from the streets, from these streets.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. Cool, man. You can catch me at the Comedy Chateau every Thursday night, 7:30, and you know that's kind of like where you can find me, and you can use Kimbo as a promo code and get free tickets, compliments of me, and just to remind you, it is a 2-drink minimum. So,
hey man, put me in that show, man. Put me in that show.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't have it just to do that yet, but I will. Give me some time.
I know.
Give me some time, and I will be able to. But I would love to put you on my comedy benefit, July 27th.
Oh,
for the Parkinson's.
that's a done deal.
Yeah. So
I'll come through.
okay, that would be great. Just send me your headshot and a little bio, and I'll put you on the website.
Done deal.
And yeah, that'd be awesome. So you can find me at podbrother.com. You can find this type of program at podbrothernation.com. If you want to tip some comedians because they need your support, go to tippingcomedians.com. Throw them a few dollars. That'll help them out. 80% of that tip goes to the comic. 20% goes to PNN Academy to teach more people how to do comedy. And we just keep that love going. As a matter of fact, Guy, I want to put you on Tipping Comedians.
All with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet. We'll talk about that later. So thank you guys. Come down and support Michelli's. Joe, Frank, Michelli, thank you guys for housing the Pod Brother Nation right here in my little Pod Brother Nation booth. I kind of took over this deck, this corner. And thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Go to michellis.com if you want to know more about hours and recipes and menus and what's going on here. So thank you very much. And I want to leave you on this note. Be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you're nice to yourself, you're also nice to other people. Thanks a lot, you guys. Guy Groves, thank you, my brother.
Absolutely.